Hello, everybody. I'd like to talk for just a little bit this morning about the idea of simplicity. It's a complicated topic, this idea of simplicity, because our conditioned mind has a myriad of ideas as to what simplicity is and should be, and is glad to make rules and regulations and monitor our attempts at living a simple life with its own strict, non-simple aggravations. I'd like to begin with a couple of chapters from the Tao Te Ching, both from my translation that's included in a book called Walking the Tao. This first one is from chapter 46. When a culture knows the Tao, it creates beautiful and useful things. Each person contributes what is natural. Nothing is left undone. Contentment is the normal state of things. When a culture does not know the Tao, it produces useless toys and distractions. It stockpiles weapons of every sort, and people live in fear. Each person is forced to fit a slot, controlled, confined, and miserable. No one is content. And then from chapter 80. A society should be arranged as a small village, content with the simple life. Technology may offer wonders without number, but they are seldom needed. Vehicles may move with amazing speed, but they remain idle. Weapons may be sophisticated and deadly, but they remain locked away and gathering dust. The moment-to-moment enjoyment of food and family and friends, garden and community, work and leisure, bring contentment and joy to life. One who lives this way will come to old age and death with complete satisfaction of a fully lived life. These are just two illustrative chapters from the Tao Te Ching of its emphasis on a life of simplicity that springs from contentment. The postulation in Taoism is that contentment is the normal state of life, that when we understand our place within the framework of the Tao, within the spinning yin and yang of life, we live from a place of basic contentment, of acceptance, of peace. The yin and yang circle will, of course, bring different kinds of emotions and moods, but that essence is still a place of peace. And from that place of peace emerges a natural desire to live plainly and simply, because there's no need for distraction. Discontentment produces the need for distraction, which produces the need for consumerism. So the consumer society, of course, depends on a discontented society, that there's always something else, always something more. Minuscule little things that you don't even think about, but they grow out of a sense of discontentment, of that the moment and what the moment has in it is somehow not quite enough. Because again, I'm caught on that outer circle of yin and yang, that dance of things coming and going, and I become afraid and I forget my place in life, and I become basically discontent. And I'm provided with opportunity after opportunity to assuage and medicate that sense of discontent and nervousness and anxiety. I've, in the little handout that I'll send you this week, I've listed some thoughts about simplicity that you might think about. I'm going to give you my own answers to the thoughts. One topic is the simplicity of thought. Simplicity begins here, of course. It begins with a contented mind. And then I ask myself, what mental habits do I have that lead to complication, that lead to the lack of simplicity? Well, one I've already mentioned is the pervasive discontent that's fostered by my society and by my own conditioned mind. Why do I entertain these thoughts? Because I'm habituated to. I have bought the lie that if I follow these thoughts carefully enough and amass enough, that I will finally find that place of, as Jesus said in one of his parables, of, finally I've got my barns full, rest my soul and be at ease. And of course, Jesus said, your barns are going to go to somebody else. Your life is required of you right now. What good did all this accumulation get you? Of course, Jesus was a wonderful Taoist in his insistence on the simple life, the lilies of the field, the not gathering and accumulating anything, and relaxing and trusting. And of course, the mass religion of Christianity has turned that simple words and simple life of Jesus on its head, so that even in our culture, religion supports discontent, supports consumerism. What thoughts can I cultivate that contribute to this a sense of contentment? First thoughts, those thoughts that just notice what's going on, and the rain is falling on the roof, and I'm in a nice, comfortable place, and Nancy is over at the college library doing some work on her book, and this is just what's happening, and I can reach out and I can touch a wall. And those first thoughts of just watching my life unfold, those are the ones that I want to cultivate. Those begin to replace the conditioned network and knot of anxiety and restlessness that's fueled by decades of thinking that this is the way life has to be. Then there's simplicity of action, and the excess movement and excess trips and excess tension in my body and excess activity that just goes unnoticed. I go through my day getting up and then getting down, taking a trip here and then coming back, doing this, then doing that. And my movement doesn't always emerge from just that waiting until the dust settles and then taking action. If the action is simply getting a drink of water or some project that needs to be done, how much excess action and wasted energy goes into my daily life. There's simplicity of speech. And I'm watching it as I present these weekly messages to you. How much tendency do I have to over-explain, to convince somebody, to yammer on, feeling that the more I speak, the more control I somehow have of what's going on in the externals of my life. And the more another person speaks, and then I speak, and another person speaks, how much do I listen? How much do I listen from a simple, contented space that doesn't need to listen to know what I'm going to say next? So I cultivate simplicity by my listening, my patient listening. Then there's simplicity, of course, of economy. And how does a consumer culture contribute to my discontent? I don't think I need to belabor this point with excess words. I live in a culture whose economic engine depends on a sense of discontent. If I were to actually live as that chapter from the Tao Te Ching suggested, the economy, if we all were to live that way, the economy would collapse and shift. The economy as we've constructed it depends on anxiety and discontent. I had a friend once, several decades ago, a minister friend of mine, as I was talking about Jesus' idea of the simple life and backing away from consumerism. My friend said to me, that's just what the communists want. They want us to stop consuming. And it's our Christian duty to consume, to keep our economy going so the communists won't get the upper hand. And I just sat there in stunned silence and thought about Jesus and Lao Tzu and communists and our society and the whole complex insanity of what was going on. That was 4 decades ago. It's increased by several orders of magnitude since. So how do I, in a consumer culture, manage to keep a simplicity of economy going when my mind is constantly telling me I'll feel better if I have just a little something extra? And then there's simplicity of ambition and expectations. What do I expect out of life? What am I trying to get out of life? What if there's nothing that I'm supposed to get out of life? What if there's nothing I have to accomplish? What if there's nothing I have to be in order to live the life that was given to me to live? What if there's nothing that I have to do? Then my actions, or my ambitions, if you want to call them that, just simply arise from, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to sit, or I'm going to do whatever. Because there's nothing I have to do. I don't have to get this presentation out at any particular time today. I don't have to say the right things to you. I don't have to get my words wrapped around some sort of perfection. I don't have to be the Taoist master in anybody's life. I just have to do what comes naturally to me. And that's has been becoming easier and easier for me as time goes by. I hope that idea of simplicity and contentment can spur something in you this week. Don't try to make it into some sort of things that I'm supposed to do or not supposed to do. Look at the questions I suggest with a sense of what's really underlying all this and where am I actually looking for contentment and peace? Am I still trying to bring contentment and peace in a complicated way? Ideally, my contentment informs my simplicity, and my contentment begins to affect my outer life and my speech and my thought. And then my thoughts become simpler, my outer life becomes simpler, my speech becomes quieter, and it feeds back into my contentment. And the circle of that supportive nature of speech, thought, actions, and inner contentment becomes a wonderful feedback loop that creates a growing sense of undisturbed contentment at the center of my life. I want to read that passage from the Tao Te Ching one more time. It's from chapter 80 in my book, The Walking the Tao. A society should be arranged as a small village, content with the simple life. Technology may offer wonders without number, but they are seldom used. Vehicles may move with amazing speed, but they remain idle. Weapons may be sophisticated and deadly, but they remain locked away and gathering dust. The moment-to-moment enjoyment of food and family, gardens and community, work and leisure bring contentment and joy to life. One who lives this way will come to old age and death with the complete satisfaction of a fully lived life. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. I hope that your week goes well and that the coming seasons bring a sense of that the coming seasons allow you a place to remain at at the center and find the seed of that contentment that will grow into a simple and satisfying life. See you Saturday.